Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 3. Say good morning to the independent member of the House, St. John's Mount. What is it? St. John's South Mount Pearl? Something like that. We'll figure it out now when we said good morning to Paul Lane. Good morning, Paul. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. It's Mount Pearl-Southlands.
Mount Pearl-Southlands. I knew that.
I think you're confusing me with Seamus and St. John's South Mount Pearl.
Well, I mean, I've seen you two stand on side of each other. It's easy to do.
There you go. Yeah, really. Anyway, Paddy, I'm calling this morning. I just want to say how thrilled I am this morning to hear that the NDP and the PC party, now official opposition, are finally on board with this whole concept of reforming the political donation process. And it's certainly something that I have been advocating now for months. I've written the Premier on it months ago, and I've had many conversations on Back Talk, and I think you and I actually spoke about it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago as well.
I think we did.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see now that the two opposition parties are on board, and they have now committed publicly, and we have them on record as saying so. So obviously this can't happen unless the government is on side, because they have the majority in the House. And so I'm certainly encouraging everybody out there who feels that it's time to take the big money out of politics to get in contact with the Premier, get in contact with your member, and let them know that you want to see reform. And
it's good to hear. Like, I mean, McCurdy's statement was a bit more clear than Mr. Davis, who was on the show this
yesterday. A little bit.
Yeah, and that's fine. I don't mind doing that.
That's fine, yeah.
And there was a little bit of wiggle room. He left himself with, mention of caps and the like. And it's fine to say, okay, out we go. We have to ban the corporate and union donations. But there still is the realism associated with the cost of campaigning. So how do we replace the current system? I know we need reforms. We have to do away with out of province money. It's either, I think, an absolute ban on corporate and union donations, but to replace it with what will be the next most important question?
Well, yeah, you're right, Paddy. And this is not a black and white issue. And to be honest with you, I'm okay with a total ban, to be honest with you, and coming up with something else. But I'm also, since day one, since I've been advocating, and like I said, I wrote the Premier on it, what I was advocating for was there was a number of measures around donations. One, it was that we would limit the amount of money that could be donated by a union, by a company, or by an individual, significantly lower. Because right now, a party, I think it's unlimited. What can be donated by any given party. So, to a given party. So, I was thinking more around, limiting it significantly. I was also, and not just during elections, but during the intervening years, limiting the amount of money that could be donated, like these $5,000 a plate dinners and all this kind of stuff. Let's cut that out. But then also limiting the amount of money that could be spent during elections to create more of even playing field. I've said this numerous times, I'll say again, I really don't think it's necessary to have big old buses with someone's face on it crisscrossing the province and spending all this money on advertising and ads and stuff. We have leadership debates which are public, so people can find out, where the leaders and where the parties stand on issues. And same thing, we look at signage and stuff like that. Is it necessary to litter the environment and all these signs? Maybe there should be a rule that says, in a provincial campaign that there would be 2 or 3 designated sites in a particular community or area where all 3 parties or 4 or 5, however many parties or individuals there are, could put their sign up so everyone knows who's running. And beyond that, you do it the old-fashioned way. You get on the phone, you knock at the doors, and you elect the person who has the best ideas and the best platform, not who has the most signs or the glossiest brochures or the most radio ads,
Well, yeah, because sign wars, it's incredible. The documented evidence shows quite clearly that numbers of signs have a direct impact on election results. I think a campaign limit or cap of some variety makes some sense. My worry with this is what we do all the time. We take a conversation like political donations. We clamor for a ban on corporate and union donations without coming up with a reasonable replacement plan. The worry would be that still the party in favor or the candidate in favor will be able to bring in some donations, and those who are further down the ballot will not be able to. And consequently, if we haven't eliminated the unlevel playing field, we've just taken money out insofar as perceived conflict and perceived corruption and all that stuff, and really haven't benefited democracy.
Correct.
So, if it's the tax credit is there, but the credit only works if you got the money to donate in the first place.
That's right.
I do think that the per vote subsidy is actually a very good idea that the federal government had in place. The public will fight back because they don't want to be directly involved in funding campaigns. So we've got to come up with a hybrid that just is a bit more modern day, easy to understand, allows for people of all different socioeconomic backgrounds to run, can't have leaders of certain popular parties of the day dominate the landscape with fundraising. And your point about a cap on the overall campaign is important because parties will spend every nickel that comes in the door.
Well, they absolutely will, Paddy. And I mean, I'll just give an example. In the last provincial election, I spent around $40,000. Okay, that somewhere between 30 and 40. I think the max I could have spent based on the formula was 45 to 50,000, whatever it was. Okay, and that's basically every district. But municipally, like when I ran municipally, and I ran in 3 municipal campaigns, I would spend maybe 8 to 10,000. And from a municipal point of view, I had twice as many houses and stuff, so I would have had twice as many flyers, twice as many areas that you would, theoretically put signs and so on, than I would provincially, but yet I only spent like 10,000 versus 30 or 40,000. So this whole idea that we got to spend all this money in these, for these campaigns is just not necessary. It's just simply not necessary to do it. And as long as everyone is on an even playing field, then why not reduce that amount to half of what it is now, or even slash it further? Make it a third of what it is now, and then everybody does it, like I said, the old-fashioned way. You go out, you knock on doors, you phone people. Yes, everyone will have their brochure with their platform on it, but we're not into this ridiculous sign war and this whole concept of, like I said, who can do the most ads in the paper and who can do the radio ads and who can do the TV ads and who can have the glossiest brochures. It should be about substance. It should be about who has the best ideas, who has the record, who has the commitment in the community, and someone that people trust and believe will do a good job. That's what it's supposed to be about. And
maybe people will actually take the time to consider the candidates where they stand, as opposed to, there's no one worth voting for, that flimsy, lazy perspective some people have. Paul, I got to get to the break. Thank you.
Not a problem, Paddy. And like I said, I just want to encourage everyone to contact the Premier, contact your member, and tell them to get on board now and let's get some reform.
Take care of yourself.
Paddy.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Twitter feed.